Just when we thought the door was closed forever, it creaked open. After years of disgrace, scandal, and silence, King Charles III has done the unthinkable. He's pardoned Prince Andrew. Yes, pardoned. Not officially, not on paper, but in action. And that's what counts. One silent appearance. One calculated decision. And now, the man once erased from royal life is back in the picture. But why now? And what does it cost the monarchy? This isn't just about forgiveness. It's about power, pressure, and one king's bold gamble to protect the crown before it all crumbles. The shocking reunion. On October 29, 2024, something happened in London that no one saw coming. During the memorial service for the late Duchess of Kent at Westminster Cathedral, King Charles III and Prince Andrew appeared side by side in public for the first time in over 1 year. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled notes, and within minutes, the image had gone viral. Prince Andrew, once exiled from public royal life, stood only a few feet from the monarch. No handshake, no smile, no brotherly warmth. But he was there. That moment was not random. It was planned, and it was loaded with meaning. For the public, the reunion may have looked quiet and respectful, but insiders knew better. It had been exactly 646 days since Andrew last stood at a major royal event. In that time, the Duke of York had been stripped of his titles, his military honors, and his royal patronages. The scandal surrounding his connections to Jeffrey Epstein and the 2022 settlement with Virginia Giuffre had left him in permanent disgrace. And yet, here he was, suited up in formal attire, walking in the same line as senior royals like Princess Anne and Queen Camilla. The silence between him and Charles was louder than any statement. Body language experts were quick to analyze every movement. Prince Andrew walked 3 steps behind the king, a protocol signal that confirmed his demoted status. He wore mourning dress, no military medals, no honorary badges, no signs of his former stature. Charles didn't make eye contact. Andrew's eyes stayed low. But what truly caught attention was that the king hadn't blocked his appearance. That alone sent waves across the royal world. It wasn't a warm welcome, but it wasn't a rejection either. It was something else, a sign that the rules had shifted behind palace walls. The reunion was choreographed to look respectful but distant. According to palace aides, Charles had personally approved Andrew's attendance. The choice of a memorial service was strategic, public enough to send a message, solemn enough to discourage questions. This wasn't forgiveness. It was a royal test. Could Andrew remain invisible, respectful, and obedient in front of the cameras? Could he survive this single appearance without sparking fresh backlash? The message from the king was clear. This was not a comeback. It was a trial. And if Andrew failed, there would be no second chance. The memorial service had barely ended before speculation erupted online and in the press. Was this a royal olive branch or a setup for stricter control? What was said before the event? And why now, after nearly 2 years of total silence? What followed next pulled the curtain back on a conversation few were ever supposed to hear. King Charles, it turns out, didn't just allow Andrew to attend. He gave him a direct warning. A warning that would decide whether this appearance marked the start of something new or the final door closing forever. The private warning. Just 5 days before the Westminster Memorial, Prince Andrew was summoned to a private meeting at Balmoral Castle. No aides, no advisors, just King Charles III and his younger brother behind closed doors. The message was direct and simple. If you cannot reform, you must remain invisible. That quote leaked by a senior palace source, became the center of royal speculation. It wasn't advice, it was an ultimatum. Charles had made it clear this appearance came with conditions, and one mistake would end any chance of future rehabilitation. Sources close to the palace confirmed that Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife, was also quietly briefed about the situation. She had been speaking out in interviews defending Andrew's character, something that did not sit well with the king. Charles's message wasn't just to Andrew, it was a warning shot to anyone attempting to restore his image in the public eye. The monarchy was already under pressure from recent events. Charles's health rumors, Prince Harry's short-notice visit to London, and internal tensions involving the Waleses. Andrew could not become another PR fire. In that tense 45-minute conversation at Balmoral, Andrew reportedly did not argue. According to The Insider, he listened, nodded, and accepted the terms. He would attend the memorial, but would not speak, not draw attention, and certainly not appear front and center. His presence was ceremonial, not symbolic. Charles, always calculating, knew exactly how this would play to the cameras. Andrew in morning dress, no medals, no fanfare, walking alone. It was the royal version of a muzzle, and Andrew accepted it because he had no choice. This wasn't forgiveness, it was control. Charles had given his brother a single lifeline, tightly knotted and closely watched. If Andrew slipped, it would be the end. He would not be seen again in any formal setting, no matter the occasion. But this moment wasn't just about Andrew. It was about the entire family. A quiet example was being made. Loyalty now had conditions. Image was everything. And Charles had just drawn the line in stone. The conditions were set, and the stage was prepared. But the public didn't know that yet. When images of Andrew surfaced from the memorial, it ignited a firestorm. One photograph, one angle, and suddenly the internet exploded. The public reaction came swiftly, and it was far from united. Because this wasn't just about what Charles allowed, it was about how the world saw Andrew now, and what it meant for the monarchy's reputation going forward. The public reaction. Within 24 hours of the memorial, every major newspaper in the UK had Andrew's face on the front page. Headlines ranged from "Brotherly Forgiveness" to "Why is Prince Andrew back?" The online world reacted even faster. By 10 a.m., the hashtag #NotMyPrince was trending globally, with over 120,000 tweets in just one morning. For many, the sight of Prince Andrew standing beside the king felt like betrayal, not just of royal standards, but of public trust. Critics came from all corners. Activists for victims' rights called the appearance shameful. Television pundits debated whether Andrew's presence suggested a slow royal rehabilitation. Even former supporters of the monarchy began voicing concern. How could a man so publicly disgraced, whose £12 million legal settlement in 2022 caused national outrage, now be allowed to stand beside the monarch, even in silence? It wasn't just the act, it was the timing. And to many, it sent the wrong message. Yet not everyone was angry. A significant number of royalists defended Charles's decision. They pointed to tradition, family first, especially at a memorial. They said that banning Andrew would have caused more controversy. Some even praised the king's strategy, saying he showed strength by allowing Andrew in on tight terms, rather than pretending he no longer existed. Public polls showed a 60-40 split. More were against the appearance, but a vocal group still believed in second chances. The palace, as expected, said nothing. No statements, no press releases. The silence was deliberate. Charles had decided to let the image speak for itself. But that silence only fed the fire. Public speculation increased. Was this a test? A soft reintroduction? Or just a one-time exception? As analysts debated the move on national news, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about Prince Andrew. It was about the entire monarchy and how much scandal it could carry before it cracked. While the public argued, inside the palace, the consequences were already spreading. Prince William, furious and blindsided by his uncle's appearance, made his feelings known behind closed doors. What came next was not diplomacy. It was a royal clash. The future king was about to confront the current one, and that confrontation would expose a deep family divide. The Palace Rift. Behind the heavy doors of Clarence House, just 2 days after the memorial, a meeting took place that shook the foundation of the royal family. Prince William, future king and public face of the modern monarchy, confronted King Charles III. According to palace insiders quoted in News International, William had not been told in advance that Prince Andrew would attend the service. He learned from press coverage, just like the rest of the world. And to him, that was more than a breach of protocol. It was a betrayal of trust. William's reaction was described as furious. For the last 4 years, he and Princess Catherine had worked tirelessly to repair the monarchy's reputation, focusing on transparency, public engagement, and clear moral leadership. Allowing Andrew, a man tied to the Epstein scandal and a £12 million legal settlement, to stand near the sovereign, even silently, undercut everything they'd built. William reportedly told aides, "This sends the wrong message. We cannot let scandal be managed with silence." The rift went beyond emotion. It was generational. Charles, shaped by decades of tradition and family loyalty, had made a call rooted in control and caution. William, however, operates in a digital world of instant backlash, accountability, and social justice. Where Charles sees structure, William sees risk. And in this case, that risk was unacceptable. He argued that Andrew's reappearance jeopardized the public's fragile trust and might undo the progress the younger royals had made. The conversation ended in tense disagreement. While there was no public fallout, those close to the palace confirmed that William has since requested a greater say in future family optics. In royal terms, that's a warning shot. The heir to the throne was drawing his own line. There would be no tolerance for backroom deals or quiet reinventions. If Andrew had been given a rope, William was ready to pull it tight. The monarchy's future wasn't just in Charles's hands anymore. It was being challenged from within. As tensions boiled behind palace walls, the outside world was watching closely. And so was Andrew himself. For years, he had lived in near isolation. No titles, no duties, no public voice. But this appearance, brief as it was, gave him something he hadn't had in a long time: a foothold. What he did next would reveal whether he still hoped for redemption, or if this was simply a controlled goodbye. Andrew's position. In the quiet halls of Royal Lodge, Prince Andrew's current residence, there was no celebration after the memorial, only careful reflection. According to sources close to Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, their father was emotionally drained but quietly hopeful. For Andrew, even the chance to attend had been a form of progress. But make no mistake, his status within the monarchy remains completely unchanged. As of November 2025, Andrew holds 0 public titles, no military roles, and performs no royal duties. Since his removal from public life in January 2022, Andrew has submitted multiple private appeals to King Charles, requesting permission to re-engage in limited activities. These include charity appearances, veterans events, and even behind-the-scenes support roles. Every one of those requests, according to the Telegraph, was either declined or ignored. The message was clear. His path to redemption was not paved with opportunity. It was buried in silence. Even his daughters, Beatrice and Eugénie, have walked a fine line. They remain personally loyal to their father, but professionally, they've distanced themselves. Beatrice continues to support charities independently, while Eugénie focuses on work abroad. Neither has used their public platform to campaign for Andrew's return. Privately, insiders say they hope for his dignity to be restored. But even they understand that public forgiveness might never come. Andrew's life now exists in limbo. He is still a prince by blood, but functions as a private citizen, watched by the public but unable to speak for himself. The conditions set by Charles, no interviews, no spotlight, no missteps, have turned Andrew into a royal ghost. Present, but unheard. Seen, but sidelined. The palace hasn't closed the door entirely, but it's barely cracked open. And unless public sentiment shifts dramatically, it may never swing wide again. Andrew's silence has become his only currency. But silence doesn't rebuild trust. It only pauses judgment. And while he waits behind gilded gates, another force is shaping the rules of the monarchy's future. That force is King Charles himself. And his motives, many believe, go far deeper than just family unity or image control. They're about survival. Charles's strategy. For decades, King Charles III was seen as a monarch in waiting, often overshadowed by stronger royal personalities. But now, in the third year of his reign, his leadership style is becoming unmistakable, firm, deliberate, and deeply strategic. According to People.com and multiple palace sources, Charles's decision to allow Andrew's appearance was not emotional. It was calculated. He wasn't offering mercy. He was showing the power of conditional loyalty. Charles understands the weight of legacy. He inherited not just a crown, but a monarchy bruised by scandal. From Harry and Meghan's public split, to his own past controversies, to Andrew's disgrace. Every move he makes now is aimed at strengthening public trust without appearing weak. That's why he didn't restore Andrew's titles. That's why there were no media statements. The silence wasn't an accident. It was part of the plan. Inside the palace, aides have said Charles is focusing on institutional preservation. That means no royal is above scrutiny, and every role must now be earned. Even blood relatives like Andrew are being measured not by status, but by behavior. Charles's rules are clear. Follow protocol, stay quiet, and serve with dignity, or disappear from public view. This new philosophy is not just affecting Andrew. It's reshaping expectations for the entire royal family. But this comes at a cost. Charles's hardline approach has caused friction not just with Andrew, but with William, Harry, and others who see the monarchy needing more empathy and openness in the modern era. Still, Charles seems unfazed. His quiet control is winning him cautious approval from older royalists and constitutional defenders. To them, his actions prove he is putting the crown before kin. To others, it raises new questions. What kind of monarchy will survive this modern storm? And how far will Charles go to keep it afloat? The hidden agenda. From the outside, the memorial appearance seemed like a symbolic gesture, but behind palace doors, insiders say it was anything but emotional. According to sources close to Buckingham Palace, King Charles's timing was no accident. In early October 2024, several UK tabloids were preparing to re-release explosive stories about Prince Andrew's Epstein ties, including private flight records and photos never before published. Charles had to act before the media dictated the narrative. So he staged a moment of controlled exposure. By allowing Andrew to appear publicly, under tight surveillance, and in a non-celebratory setting, Charles regained control of the story. It was a visual statement. He's not back. He's being monitored. That message was delivered without a single word from the royal press office. No interviews, no comments, just a cold, carefully staged image. Charles made it known that Andrew was not returning, but being managed. This also served another purpose: calming internal royal pressure. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have quietly lobbied behind the scenes for their father's dignity to be restored in some form. The memorial appearance gave them something to hold on to, without giving Andrew actual power. According to insiders, this symbolic visibility was offered in exchange for their silence on bigger demands. But there was one more layer: Charles's hidden warning to the rest of the firm. This move signaled that no royal, regardless of bloodline, could dictate their own public image anymore. If Andrew, a brother of the king, could be reduced to a silent figure in the background, then anyone else, even Prince Harry or the Sussexes, could face the same fate. This wasn't just about Andrew. It was about tightening control. Charles's play was bold, but the ripple effects had only just begun. Because while Andrew kept quiet, the future of the monarchy was quietly shifting behind him. And what came next would reveal whether this was a temporary tactic or the start of a new royal order. The turning point for Andrew. The memorial may have looked like a small gesture, but for Prince Andrew, it was a defining line in the sand. For nearly 4 years, he had lived as a royal in exile. No titles, no voice, no future. But on October 29, 2024, for 1 hour, he was seen again. It wasn't much, but to him, it was everything. And yet, according to those close to him, he knows this was his final test. Andrew has reportedly accepted that his full public role is gone forever, but he still hopes to return in some limited private capacity. In mid-2025, he submitted a proposal to support veteran charities from behind the scenes. No cameras, no titles, just service. The palace has yet to respond. Insiders say it's unlikely. The king won't allow even a quiet return, unless the public fully forgets, said one senior courtier. And they haven't. That's why Andrew's appearance was so silent. He wasn't invited back. He was tolerated. He was allowed to walk, but not speak. He stood in black, without medals or honors. No formal name, no role, no dignity. It was the royal version of exile with open eyes. For him, redemption will never mean return. It means acceptance of the shadows. Still, there's quiet tension within the family. His daughters remain loyal. His ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, continues to defend him. But among senior royals, including Prince William, Andrew remains unwelcome. And unless public perception shifts dramatically, his presence may become even rarer in the coming years. One wrong step, and this quiet test becomes his public finale. But even as Andrew faded into the background, one man remained front and center: King Charles. And what the monarch really wants from Andrew, from the public, and from the future of the firm goes deeper than loyalty. It's about survival. What Charles really wants. Behind the calculated silence and stern warnings, King Charles is making something clear. He is a monarch with a mission. And that mission is simple: preserve the monarchy at any cost. According to aides, Charles has told senior advisors repeatedly since 2023, "We are not here to preserve comfort. We are here to preserve purpose." That single phrase now shapes every move he makes. Charles's ultimate goal isn't to protect family feelings, it's to modernize the institution. For him, Andrew isn't a brother in trouble. He's a symbol of the old system, where bloodline protected everything. That model is now being rewritten. Charles wants accountability. He wants order. And most of all, he wants every royal to understand their role exists for the public, not themselves. That's why he made no public comment on Andrew. That's why he didn't restore his titles. Instead, he let the visual silence speak louder than any statement. According to royal expert Jenny Bond, Charles is setting new boundaries. No one is above scrutiny, not even his own brother. Every royal, from William to the distant cousins, now lives under a stricter standard. But there's more. Charles is thinking long-term. He knows that scandals, from Harry's memoir to Andrew's lawsuits, have chipped away at royal mystique. If the monarchy is to survive in the digital era, it must evolve. That means transparency, discipline, and above all, control. Charles isn't ruling with love, he's ruling with logic. And that shift isn't just felt in the press, it's tearing into the royal family itself. What Charles has built is a new monarchy, one built on rules, reputation, and regulation. And not everyone is ready for it. Because while Charles reclaims control, others in the family are feeling pushed out of the circle. What it means for the future of the monarchy. What happened at the memorial wasn't just a test for Andrew. It was a warning to the entire royal family. Under King Charles III, the monarchy is no longer a shield for scandal. It's a system of tight roles, limited visibility, and earned trust. For the first time in royal history, family name isn't enough. Presence now demands perfection. This is a critical shift. For centuries, the monarchy survived by bloodline. But that model is breaking. What Charles is building is closer to a corporate structure. Every member must play their part. And if they fail, they're removed. This is why Andrew's reappearance was so carefully orchestrated. It wasn't about forgiveness. It was about framing failure. And yet, this creates a new challenge. Loyalty among royals is fading. William is pushing for a future of reform. Harry remains estranged. Even loyalists like Princess Anne are reportedly uncomfortable with the colder tone. If Charles can't balance authority with empathy, his new order may fracture before it fully takes shape. But for now, the king is holding steady. The Andrew situation showed that Charles is willing to sacrifice sentiment for structure. And that means one thing. The royal family is entering a new era, one where nothing is permanent. Not titles, not roles, not even family. Under this system, you serve with silence, or you vanish. So now, the question isn't if Prince Andrew is forgiven. It's why. King Charles didn't need to make this move. The public hadn't asked for it. The press wasn't begging. In fact, the opposite was true. The Duke of York remained one of the most controversial figures in modern royal history. And yet, on that quiet October morning in 2024, the king let his brother walk beside him, silently, cautiously, but undeniably present. It wasn't a royal embrace. It was a signal. And signals like this carry weight. For the monarchy, this act wasn't about sentiment. It was strategy. Charles is shaping a new crown, one built on calculation, control, and image survival. And this appearance was a message to every royal. Redemption is rare, conditional, and comes with consequences. To the world, it may look like a royal pardon. But behind the palace walls, it's a final warning. And to Prince Andrew, this was his last chance. No titles, No speeches, just obedience and silence. Because the second he oversteps again, the gates will shut, and this time for good. As for the public, the divide is growing. Some see this as compassion. Others see corruption. But one truth stands tall above the noise. In Charles's monarchy, blood alone no longer guarantees a future. Reputation does. And now, the world is watching, waiting, and wondering. Was this mercy or monarchy under pressure?